Hey everyone, I'm Kyle Ingham from the Distilled Man. Up next, I chat with one of the founders of British shaving and grooming company, Stubble and Strife. We talk about the recent men's grooming revolution and delve into the ritual of traditional shaving. Side note, there was so much great content in this interview that we actually had to break it into 2 parts. So this is part 1. Make sure and check out part 2 at the end. Also, don't forget to grab a free copy of my PDF guide, 48-Hour Gentleman, your one weekend plan to more confidence, poise, and manly know-how. All right, without any further ado, let's get to it.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure.
I really appreciate your time. So for those of you folks out there who aren't familiar with Stubble and Strife, can you talk a little bit about who you are and what the company's all about?
So we've been around for about 2 years, just under 2 years, and we're in essence a company that supplies beard, moustache, shaving products for men.
Nice.
Okay. But the key thing about us is that we focus on 2 things. One is that we try and source products from the UK, so provide the best of British. And the second is we place a lot of emphasis on communication in terms of explaining to people how to use the products, explaining how the ingredients work, what's in the ingredients, and basically giving really good solid advice in terms of the best grooming experience from beards, moustaches, shaving products, and such like.
I'm curious of what's happened in the last few years. It's just there's been such an explosion in interest in men's grooming. Guys who were never interested in taking care of themselves or definitely not interested in a safety razor. I mean, they wanted the latest. So I'm curious to know your thoughts on the trend, I guess.
Well, I think there was a couple of things. So first of all, I think what changed things dramatically was a lot of the magazines like FHM, Esquire, when they appeared, men started to look at their own grooming habits very differently. And what we saw is that percolating down into what we were doing. When we presented people with these traditional razors, they were intrigued, nostalgic, they were curious, and that often drew them in, and they asked us lots of questions.
What do you think that attraction is to the nostalgic, the old way that it was? Because on the same token, I think people are embracing technology. Everyone wants the latest MacBook, but they kind of want to go backwards in terms of. Not that I'm making a judgment about that, but what do you think that's all about?
Yeah, I think there's an element of getting back to basics. For a lot of guys that we spoke to, they're really attracted by the thought of taking something that looks a bit more dangerous to their face, right? So,
I could kill myself this morning when I shave if I'm not awake.
I think it's amazing the number of times we got asked, do you have a cutthroat razor or single edge razor?
Yeah.
And obviously we sell those. And on many occasions they would look at them, have a play with them, and say, okay, that's a bit too scary.
Right.
And then never buy
the idea is nice, but I think
And then they drifted back down to a double edge razor. Which they thought looked a little less threatening. But it's just, I think it's just a case of every once in a while people need change from technology and they want to revert back to something that's a little bit more traditional. I think there's also this sort of ritual aspect of grooming for guys. It's actually a little bit lost, if you like.
Right.
So there's something relaxing about waking up and actually taking your time to have a shave. And it's a slow shave as opposed to just whizzing through your face with a multi-blade system razor, and just there's an element of spending time with yourself, right? Just shaving. So it's a purely pleasurable thing.
I don't want to do that.
Purely pleasurable, simple thing. Maybe going back to wielding a knife the way that men used to wield knives, and there's a strong sense of technique. You have to learn a skill and art before you can actually shave properly. So a lot of guys will come to us and will say, okay, I kind of remember that from when my father and my dad did that. But it's been lost a little bit. So
curious if you have any stories about customers that you've come in contact with who've rediscovered shaving and now they're it's changed their lives or really impacted them.
Yeah, it's I think there's numerous examples. One that springs to mind is when we first started. We set up a pub in Greenwich Market, which is a part of London that is quite touristy in terms of lots of tourists that walk around and visit. But it's also known to be a market full of food, right? So there's one side of it that's food focused, and the other side that's products focused. And most people that wander in there looking for food. And I remember this instance with this one guy that purchased a very large gourmet burger and was chomping his way through, and then happened to walk past us and saw the razor, or a selection of razors, and just stopped and stood there thinking for a second, pointing at the razors and saying, I haven't seen one of those
as his
for
mouth
30
is
years.
half full.
Yeah, absolutely. So what then happened with this guy is he spent maybe 20 minutes learning about the razors, the type of razors. He ended up buying one, and then much to my surprise he came back and he bought another one 2 weeks after. And he came back,
one?
Yeah,
wow.
And he came back
for himself.
For him, well, that's what he said.
Okay. Did he have a burger in his hand this time?
No, he left the burger back where it was, and then he did it a third time.
My goodness!
So he came back for a third razor, and in essence, what it was down to is the fact that he just liked different styles of razors. You get long handle, short handle, they have a slightly different feel and technique, and he wanted to try the variants before he actually adopted one. And he explained to me that he'd become very interested and started looking at the history and the technique and spending a lot of time on YouTube as a result of this one sort of burger venture through the market.
Can he give you a neat sort of insight into what that looked like in his daily life and how that kind of changed the way he shaved? Or
Yeah, he explained that he's pretty busy, and this is consistent with many people that live in London, for example, or many other cities. And he explained that he gets up in the morning, he's eager to get through the shower, the shave, and get out the door, because he's got 100 things buzzing through his head.
So shaving is not exactly his number one priority of the day.
And he said the mornings just generally aren't a relaxing time. They're about speed, they're about getting to the next thing. And what he's found is that by actually spending a little bit of time relaxing in the morning, having a shave and taking his time, using the brush, using a traditional razor, it gave him time to just mull the day over and plan his day, and just enjoy that moment. And he felt that was very liberating. He felt that was really, really very refreshing. And so he's he's adopted the routine of a traditional razor.
Well, it sounds like he really sort of changed his life in a way.
Yeah,
all because of a hamburger. A hamburger. Isn't it ironic that a hamburger led to this peaceful morning?
Yeah, you wouldn't put the two together, really. You know.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, thanks again for watching. If you like this video, please hit like below. Also, make sure to check out the second half of this video by clicking below. In part 2, we get into the details about what exactly is so special about safety razors. Plus, we talk about the other essential things you need to know to start enjoying a traditional shave. Finally, if you haven't already grabbed a copy, make sure to download my free PDF guide, 48-Hour Gentleman, your one weekend plan to more confidence, poise, and manly know-how. Thanks again, and see you soon.